Hi and welcome. My name is Barry Selby. Welcome to my broadcast. If you're just joining me, and you probably are if it's the beginning of my broadcast. This is messages from the masculine number 55. Pushing or pulling, what's your default? That's the title, and I'll get to what that means in a moment. But as usual, I'll introduce myself first and then get into the guts of this. My name is Barry Selby, known as the Love Doctor to my friends and clients. I'm a relationship attraction expert for strong, successful women and a passionate champion for the divine feminine. And in my work, I'm really passionate about supporting women and having what they want in love, in life, in business. And last night I was speaking at an event, and there was an interesting conversation that came up. In fact, if you want to watch it, there's a 90-minute or so, 95-minute interview that I had at my friend's place in Venice, and there was a live audience, and it was a really rich conversation. It was back and forward, and we demoed stuff, and we talked about stuff. It was great fun. So that started around 7:30 p.m. last night. If you want to go look at my wall from yesterday, you'll see it there. Today's topic is a spin-off from that. I didn't cover this so much yesterday, so I want to give it some juice and some space and some so we're looking for a container today. That's a good word. So, by the way, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, I will be showing this again on YouTube as well. If you have any questions you put in, I may or may not get to them in the live broadcast. I may answer them in the comments afterwards. But if they're good questions that feel like they can help everybody, I may repeat them out and then share them out so that people watching on YouTube later will know what I'm talking about, because the comments and stuff on Facebook Live doesn't travel to YouTube, in case you didn't figure that out. So, let's get into this, shall we? By the way, this is an ongoing series of talks I've been doing now since November, and this is number 55 in the series, so there's 54 before this you might want to catch. And I'll say about those and put the link in below where you can find those. Today's topic, which is pushing or pulling, what is your default? As you might suspect based on the conversation where I come from, my contextual perspective, I'm talking about relationships. But I'm really getting blunt about this whole thing about the way that the masculine and feminine work and how men and women do or don't adopt those particular roles. But I want to come at it from a different angle. That's why I named it Pushing and Pulling, because that's really what it's about. I'll explain what I mean, because I'm realizing that may not communicate, because in here it makes total sense, but out there it might not. We have default ways of behaving when we get into connecting with somebody. In fact, this is what was evoked for me last night when I was at this interview, call it that. My friend Gina, who was hosting, had me mock up, like asking her out, and it was really weird because I felt myself doing a dualistic approach inside. Part of me was going to the role immediately, which is actually kind of fresh for me to be in the place of asking her out. At the same time, there's a part of me that was vying for attention, which was a place that was different. It was actually in a way of pulling energy. Now, the way I'm going to explain this for you, and then break it down from there, because this is really meta context, something like that. The pushing, the pulling I'm referring to is the pursuing and the attracting that we do in the area of dating relationships, and also in the area of life itself. Because, to be really clear, one energetic is to pursue and chase and push to get things done. The other energy is to pull in, to attract, to be receptive to what's happening. And those two camps, as it were, are where, in the former, mostly the masculine energy resides, and in the latter, mostly the feminine energy resides. So, in the contextual placement of this about relationship, the masculine energy is one that's pushing, that's pursuing, that's hunting for the feminine. The feminine is the energy that is receptive and attractive, and also being very clear about what the energy wants. I'm not using pronouns for this, because I'm going to explain in a minute the differences. The feminine energy is what attracts and draws in that which it desires, whereas the masculine energy pursues and hunts down what it desires. Different energetic, and yeah, hunt is kind of the term I'm using. So pushing versus pulling. To give context again, masculine and feminine energies are energies we all have inside of us. However, we tend to default more towards one side or the other of this spectrum. So most women naturally reside towards the feminine end of the spectrum. Most men reside towards the masculine end of the spectrum. Now I'm talking about straight male and female here, because in gay relationships, because the masculine, let me sorry, let me back up just a touch. The masculine and feminine polarity, the extremes of that, is what creates attraction and real investment in wanting to be together. In a gay relationship, same thing's true, except that for the man and the man, or the woman and the woman, one is more masculine, one is more feminine, to create the polarity. That's where the attraction, the chemistry comes from. So the push and the pull is the same thing, is the pushing versus pulling. It's the, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the energy of pushing in from the masculine and the receiving in from the feminine. There's another term that's come up with that. Actually, Mary Wellington used this term on stage once. She was talking about how the person on stage speaking is the masculine energy. Doesn't matter if it's male or female. The audience who's listening is in the feminine energy, the receptive energy. So, or penetrating, that's the word, penetrating. The masculine energy is penetrating the consciousness of the audience. So the person on stage is actually speaking to the audience and is penetrating their consciousness with their words. Male or female on stage, male or female in the audience, independent of that masculine and feminine energy. So again, push and pull. So my question to you, which is what is the title, is what is your default? Do you naturally tend to be someone who is in the place of going, okay, I'm going to go looking for something, going to go find it, hunt it, and go get it? Or, and I'm using very simply, cartoonish examples of this, or are you someone who's more in the receptive energy where you're going to sit back and go, what is it I really want? And to in fact, in the program I created, I'll talk about that in a second, to help women attract what they want, to actually help them map out that, like plan their intention, and to actually set up various attributes and feelings to make that more attractive to themselves, to bring that in. And these are some things I'm just touching on from last night. In the context of masculine and feminine, in the way of the dance of the old relationships in the old days, back in Victorian times in England, and now probably the Wild West out here, in civilized society, a lady who had interest in a man wouldn't pursue him, but she would actually, in some ways, make the first move, because if he was attractive to her and was perhaps showing interest in her, she would actually drop her handkerchief for him. And I keep using this term because it's the only one I found that really resonates, is when a woman drops a handkerchief for the man, it's really in the sense of just going, I'm trying to say it politely, like, come on down, in a way. It's this invitational energy, which is allowing him, one, to know he's on fairly safe ground, if he's interested in following through, but secondly, it means that she is someone who is going to allow him to be in the masculine and she's going to stay in the feminine. At least that's the idea. Fast forward to 2017, things are different nowadays. With smartphones and texting and smartphone apps and swipe apps, everyone's hunting. And this is the unfortunate thing, is that everybody, well, most, I'll say everybody, but most people tend to be using these apps as hunters. So it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, you're in the masculine. You are the one doing the choosing, the sliding through, the swiping, and then initiating. Now, some of the apps have been set up the right way, where the apps are set up where the women who go on the site can show interest, but then they are then receptive. It's the male who has to make the move, in the sense of like opening communication, initiating communication. Part of this dating and courtship process is to, how to say this, women, you have to be patient with men. That's the reality of it is. Because when men are courting you, when a man is courting you, sometimes he needs to have some guidelines or some training wheels or some help to get him there. Because he may not remember, having been out of practice, that it's important and advised it be to pick up the phone and call his prospective date versus texting. I hate this texting stuff. It's great for convenience. Texting is really for data, directions, schedules, that sort of stuff. Not for how you're feeling or showing interest. Be willing to pick up the phone and call. I had a course actually do with somebody who's in Texas, but it was a Facebook Messenger audio, actually a video call, because texting wasn't covering it. We needed to connect face to face. That's what these phones can do. So at least an audio, if not a video call, because texting is just, it's this vanilla slice flavor on top of a very thick cake that is not getting appreciated because you're just getting that little slice, or that little coating is not in the slice. Getting the whole thing, that's where the contextual communication and connection comes from. It's a step up. There was another point that was floating around in there somewhere, and it'll come back as I stay on track. So, For those of you out in the wilderness hunting for your dates, make sure you're masculine doing the hunting. If you're feminine, be visible, be noticeable. I mentioned I'm bringing lots of points from last night forward, but again, if you want to watch the whole talk from last night, it's on my Facebook wall. It is an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 35 minutes. It was a good conversation. There's just a few points I'm bringing to this broadcast. It seems relevant, so I'll bring this up. I talked about last night that men and women are attracted differently, in the sense that men are attracted to women visually speaking, and before you jump to conclusions, let me explain that one. And women are attracted to men energetically or on a feeling level. How that is explained, how I mean this, and how I recognize this is that what attracts a man to a woman isn't necessarily how she's built. And I'm being very blunt about the physicality of her. So boob jobs may or may not be attractive. And I can speak from experience that they can look wonderful, but in movement, in connection, in intimacy, it doesn't make a difference. So there's variance in this. And what I mean by being attracted to how attracted visually to a woman is how she shines her light. Yes, I went metaphysical on you for a second. How she shines her light. It is how she is presenting herself into the world. Because women, ladies, if you are feeling light and happy in yourself, and you enjoy being in your body, and you are actually inhabiting your physical self, you're way more attractive than if you're not. Many women I know, sorry ladies if I'm adding you, have spent this time being very stuck up above the neck. So their ability to function in their body is almost robotic, it's disconnected, and it's not very attractive. It's nice, but it's not sexually attractive, because when you're not inhabiting the body. And it's an encouragement for you to say, do that. Last night we talked about things like pole dancing, because pole dancing for women is actually very healing from what I know. Some friends of mine are teachers, I have friends of mine who perform, friends of mine in Cirque du Soleil who do pole dancing. It's a lot of that is in the conversation, because we all have room to grow in our bodies physically, and ladies especially, when you do things that are based on the pole dancing system, method, we call that, it really grounds you in a physical connection to your body that you may have forgotten how to do. Now, for some ladies out there who've been through abuse, it can be a traumatic healing experience. And so I'm being very serious about how powerful that can be. What it also does for other women, and as I know from friends of mine have seen it, women who've done pole dancing, like who I've met before and then afterwards, they, as I said before, they inhabit their bodies. They own their sensuality, their sexuality in a way that is very attractive. Their body hasn't changed on the outside. It's how they carry themselves. It's how they are inside. That's the light that is attractive to men. I'll give you enough of broad strokes on that. I can go into more detail another time. Ladies, what attracts you to men is, in some ways, as I said, is the energetic attraction. What I mean is how they make you feel. Now, there are many men out there, especially in LA, especially in Muscle Beach and at the gyms, who are very buff and strong and tough, and they have really big muscles and flat, and six-pack abs and everything else, abs on their abs. Well, a lot of women think that's attractive. Unfortunately, you're mislabeling, because, and let me go on a limb. I'm going to go further out on a limb as I say this. For many women out there, what you're really seeking is a man that can make you feel safe. And for some of you, you think that if a man's strong enough, he can be safe. And it isn't about physical strength. It's about emotional strength. So, for example, let me just give you some framework. Ladies out there, would you feel safer with a really strong, powerful man who weighs 250 pounds and eats raw meat and he's really tough and he goes out and can lift a car with his bare hands, but when you express your emotions and get upset, he runs away? Or you were the guy who's average build, who takes care of himself, and he's athletic, maybe goes to yoga or something like that. He's not big or muscular, but he's a rock for you when you get upset. When you get upset and hurt feelings and really want to let loose, he stands there and holds space for you in a way that is so solid, you know he won't run away. Which is more attractive to you? From what I've done in my research, the latter absolutely is. So what attracts you ladies to men isn't the physical strength, it's who we are. That's where you can rely on us. And when you can feel trust in us and feel safe with us, that's what makes you feel more loving, feel more connected, feel more attractive. So that I'm going off a tangent to get to those points. So let me bring it back to the beginning, because I want to wrap this up, because this went longer than I planned. The push and pull is in the title about which is your default, is to ask yourself this question. When you're out in the world, do you go out seeking things, looking for the results and pushing into the world to push against the resistance of what is the world itself to get what you want? Or are you someone who is more pulling and receiving and bringing things into you? That will give you feedback about your natural resonance. And you can change it. These are not hard and fast, but they're your defaults. And a default is where you don't think about it consciously. If you want to change it, think about it consciously. I think that's clear. And I can help you with that. So I mentioned earlier about my program. I want to just put this out there because some of the ladies watching this have been wondering ways they can get what they want and how they can be in the feminine to attract the relationship they want, because they're fed up with the dating apps and they're fed up always being on the prowl and having to be on the prowl because men aren't responding. This is what inspired the program I created, and I'm not going to give you all the details about it. I'll put the link in below. But I want to just say is that the program is called Attract the Man You Want. I think that tells you what it is. It's 8 modules that are actually set up sequentially and incrementally to help you get clear about your vision. And again, from the pulling, the receptive, the attractive energy, how to attract in and draw into what you want. If this does appeal to you, reach out to me and I'll tell you that I'll share the information with you and tell you more about it. I don't want to give you a whole explanation here. It's not a promotional video. But the thing about it is the reason why I created it is because so many women out there have been learning the hard way, as it were, to go out and work hard to get a relationship and to compete with the men and to basically bull bust them. And I'm going to go into that because that's in the video from last night. It's really not working for men and women to be both in the masculine role trying to compete for leadership. That's a competition. Relationships aren't competition. If you're doing it that way, you're doing it wrong. Relationships are about coming together, not competing with each other. I think that's clear. All right, I'm running on different points here. Again, a reminder, if you didn't watch last night, I was interviewed live at an event in Venice. It's an hour-and-a-half interview, and it went really long, but it was good fun. In fact, it was dark by the time we finished. We were outside in the patio. But it was a good conversation. There were probably 30, 40 good points in there. If you want to go back and watch it, I recommend it. These are one of my daily broadcasts. This is my Facebook Live for today, which is number 55. There's 54 before this. I've got on my Facebook page, business page, as well as on my website, on YouTube. If you think someone could get value from this, please share this with them. And if you have questions or comments below after I get off, I'll answer the questions later. I think that's it. I'll be back in tomorrow with another talk. And so there's your question. What's your default? Pushing or pulling? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.